Welcome back to Dufferin Life. Thank you so much for staying with us. And if you're just tuning in, you're tuning in at a good time. I say it all the time. I always like to create awareness. I like to make people aware of things that they may not know about, whether it be an event or something like that. But we're going to talk about something that might make you a little bit uncomfortable, but it's important. So joining me today, we have Sherry from Cry Not. Sherry, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Well, let's talk about what Cry Not is and what the purpose of the organization is.
Sure. Cry Not is a group of volunteers that came together just before the pandemic started. It's an acronym. It's Compass, Rotary, Youth, No Trafficking. So we came together, the organizations came together, and we formed this group because we heard of this horrible crime happening to our youth, and we wanted to do something about it by spreading knowledge and awareness.
Well, let's talk about it. Let's talk about what it is. We're talking about sex trafficking. Is it prevalent in Dufferin County?
Surprisingly enough, it is. I was just aghast to hear that it was. And back in 2019, I can't quote exact statistics, but I think we were made aware of 22 victims in our area that were trafficked, and a number of them were under the age of 18.
That is frightening.
Yeah.
And you know what, and if you're not aware, we're going to talk about that as well. So let's talk about what human trafficking is.
Yeah, so I can't give you the textbook definition, but basically, you know, a human being who is being controlled, manipulated, exploited against their will, possibly, you know, moved to different areas for the purposes of another party benefiting from that,
right?
Usually in monetary value.
Right, right. And it's I remember when the organization had first started, I had someone come on because I was appalled and shocked to think this is happening in our community. We have such an amazing community, which, you know, there's so many good things that happen in our community, but just to find out that these things are happening. And I recently heard a story about somebody who acquired a home, not specifically in Dufferin County, just outside, and what they found out was they had been keeping a young woman in a room where she was barred in, the windows were barred, the outside of her door was locked because she was being kept there to unfortunately perform acts for monetary value against her will, which it makes me, it's
sickening.
It's sickening. Like I just want, like there's
appalling.
A pit in my stomach just thinking about it, right? So that's why you're here. You're here to help us create the awareness.
That's right.
And I know you have an event coming up that I think is important that everybody know about. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. February 22nd is recognized across Canada as National Human Trafficking Awareness Day. So we mark the day. We're doing a community webinar. And the fact is, a lot of people don't want to know about this subject. So, you know, our topic, or our title is, I don't know why, I don't want to know, but this is why you need to know. So, you know, it's that stigma of, oh, you know, it's not going to happen to my family, or it's not going to happen in my backyard. But, you know, any teen, and it doesn't even have to be a teen, but the average age of being sex trafficked is between the age of 12 and 14 years of age. So that alone is just reason enough for, if you have a young person in your life, whether it's your child, you know, a niece, a nephew, a friend's child, it doesn't matter. If you have a young person, this seminar is for you. And sorry, it's not a seminar, it's a webinar, and it's interactive. And we have a panel of experts from community agencies, law enforcement. They're going to be there to answer questions. All you have to do is go to our website, crynot.ca. It's right on our homepage. Registration is required, but it's free. So yeah, please tune in, and you'll learn about it. You'll have your questions answered by experts.
And I mean, I've had different guests on, and you're absolutely right. I don't want to hear about it. I don't really want to talk about it, but I do want to talk about it because I want to make you aware of it, because it's something it's a horrible thing that is growing. And it can happen to somebody around you. We've had this conversation before where you don't necessarily know what is happening in someone's personal life. So especially if you know someone who's young and vulnerable, because that's what they look for, right? Somebody who's a little bit more vulnerable. So let's talk about what we should look for, or what, how.
Sure, and any teen or child can be vulnerable.
Yes.
We don't have to be from a marginalized population. You know, we can have self-esteem issues as a child, or we're not getting along with our parents at home, we're a little rebellious, etc. So the predators, they look at those vulnerabilities and they prey upon them, and they focus on them, and they sell the victim a dream, basically.
Right.
So they lure them in, and they're befriending them. They're being boyfriended by them. And then once they're lured in, they groom them. So they start to drive a wedge between the victim and their family. So the families might be looking for someone whose behavior has changed drastically. They have a new group of friends. They're spending their free time in different places, or they're being very secretive. The way they dress might change. They might have new jewelry. They might have new clothes. They might have a second or a new cell phone. So there's a lot of different little signs that you might look for. And if it is, do they have a boyfriend or a friend that all of a sudden they don't want mom and dad to know about them? They don't bring them home.
Right.
So yeah, those are some of the main signs to look for.
And this is predominantly female, but does this affect the males of the community as well?
Absolutely, yeah. It is a large percentage is females who are being victimized, but by all means, it's all genders. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, I mean, they sell, as you said, they sell these dreams to kids about, maybe if they've befriended them or they've promised them, oh, we're going to go on trips, we're going to do all these lovely things, and
And there could be, like, they could then, there could be alcohol and drugs involved, and then all of a sudden there's a cost to all of that. So now they've been lured in, and now they're being controlled, and now they're being manipulated, and now it's like, well, this dream has a price. So this is where the sex trafficking begins.
Because they have to pay back whatever.
They have to pay back.
Nothing out there is free.
Exactly.
There's nothing out there that's free. And I just encourage people to find out more about it, because it's one of those things where you, as you mentioned, you don't think it can happen to you, or somebody that you know.
And children, like, they don't even realize they're a victim a lot of the time until they're in so far that they can't get out. There are threats then maybe against their family, or the embarrassment, or they're hooked into with the drugs and alcohol, etc. But it's really it's something, if we can educate our children to be aware of those dangers before, look for a healthy relationship versus, are you in a healthy relationship? We're really pleased to announce that our group, Cry Not, has been our presentation that we've been presenting to community clubs and groups around the community for the last couple of years. We call it our HT 101. And it's been vetted and approved by the school board. So we're really pleased that we are now approved to present to parent-teacher associations. So if there's anyone in your audience who would like to hear us, we're hoping, our goal this year is to get out to the PTA groups. And then it's also now been approved into and is placed into the school curriculum. So we're really so pleased to hear that education and awareness is now coming into our schools. The school staff and teachers have been educated on it. They've been trained. There's protocols in place to look for the signs. And it's unfortunate but fortunate that it is being taught at grade 7 and at the grade 10 level.
Okay.
So yeah, and it takes the community. It's not a policing program or problem. It's huge in organized crime. It's very lucrative, and I think the more that we can educate our children and our families and you know, we can hopefully prevent from this happening in our community. Right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And the more information that we get out there, the better it definitely is. So where do the predators find these children?
Anywhere kids hang out, you know, stores, malls, arenas, community centers, weekend parties. I just heard something recently on social media that someone was accosted in the Walmart, our own Walmart, asking many questions that sounded very familiar to alluring stigma. So it's wherever kids hang out.
And I think that it's important too that we talk about the fact that these people that are luring, these predators, could be very similar in age, or just a little bit older than the people that they're trying to lure.
Yeah. It could be that lonely teenager who, you know, meets somebody at school, you know, or the predator sees that, you know, that person doesn't have any friends, so all of a sudden they're, you know, oh, hey, how are you? You know, and then all of a sudden that's making that teenager feel very special, and then, you know, they could be getting
and they
lured
build that self-esteem, and they make them feel comfortable, and they make them feel safe. And then they're and of course the poor children are not realizing what's happening. And this is something, I mean, it's cliche, and I've seen it on television, but you see these shows, and it's part of reality too, that, you know, somebody who's been lured in, who maybe, say, for lack of a better term, ages out and becomes too old for whatever's happening. They are already in that, and they've already been, like, their mind has already been changed over, that those are the people that they usually send out to lure the other people.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely, they do. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
You know, and I think that there's just so many things that we need to look out for as parents, as people in the community.
And we don't want to scare people.
No.
But we just want to spread the knowledge and awareness. It's no different from, you know, stranger danger when, you know, our kids are little, or, you know, you don't.
I mean, we've talked about things like, we've talked about suicide awareness, and so, like, I mean, these are frightening things. Sex trafficking, suicide awareness. But if we don't learn, and we don't take the responsibility on ourselves to learn a little bit about it, even though we don't want to, we won't see the signs. We'll miss the signs.
That's so true. Yeah, well said. Yeah.
So, so we've got, I'm going to give you the website. It's crynot.ca for crynot.ca. Find out some information about the upcoming webinar. Listen to the things that might make you feel that little bit uncomfortable. I want to thank you, Sherry, for joining us today.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and we'll welcome everyone who would like to tune into our webinar.
Wonderful. And thank you for joining us. And until next time, bye-bye for now. So we're just going to sit.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
When an impaired driver killed my brother DJ, some people used the A word. They called it an accident, but it wasn't. An accident implies